Hey Mech Warriors, welcome to Bad Ben's Battle Mechs. I'm Bad Ben. Today I thought I'd go do an overview of all of the core rule books that we have to date. So this is the most up-to-date rule books. A lot has changed actually in the last couple years. Um, a lot of these were released around 2018-19. A lot were changed. Um, Around 2021 and 2022, books were kind of revised and split into different editions, and several of these books actually were just released at the end of 2024. So we're at the beginning of 2025, so here we go. And we'll start with the most basics, and we'll get more advanced as we go. So, starting it off is the BattleTech Beginner Box. So, the rule set that comes in this box is like BattleTech Classic Light. They've taken out a couple of the things. It comes with its own special rule sheets that are really only good for this box. They've taken away heat, they've taken away criticals, and I don't know exactly, but yeah, BattleTech Classic Light is the beginner box. As easy a rule set as you can find in BattleTech, honestly. So moving on, we get to the game of Armored Combat rules. And this is just the standard BattleTech rules, the full thing with heat and criticals, everything's added in. It doesn't, it covers really only equipment and stuff around the year 3025, so the Succession Wars era. You're not going to get any rules for advanced weapons and units and so on, just pretty much the bare minimum. Then moving on, you get to the Clan Invasion, and this is the first book that introduces a few of the advanced weapons, a few of the things that the clans use. It also has a few rules for the elementals, for example. Yeah, but still pretty much just basic BattleTech, and this is just an add-on to a game of Armored Combat. It's not its own rule set, on its own. Then moving on, this is Alpha Strike box set rules. This is the most basic rules for Alpha Strike. Not much really to be said about that. Moving on, you get the Alpha Strike Commander's Edition. This is pretty much all of the expanded rules for Alpha Strike. If you have this one and Alpha Strike box set, then you have almost all the rules. Actually, there's some expanded rules that came out recently, and we'll get to that pretty soon here. So this has all of the extra rules for Alpha Strike, using vehicles and aerospace, even, I believe, is covered within this book for Alpha Strike. Moving on, the BattleTech Mercenaries box set, and this is one of the books that just came out in 2024, and this has the newest version of the Chaos Campaign rules. So if you go search for Chaos Campaign online, you'll find old PDFs, but those are superseded now by this Chaos Campaign that is found in the Mercenaries box set. And I really, really love these rules. I think these are excellent campaign rules. They are not nearly as complicated as what we'll get into later. And so then move on to Hotspots Hinterlands. This is essentially the exact same rule set that you get in the Mercenaries for a campaign, but it's not identical. So I thought I would add that in. There are a few. I don't know if they're supposed to be different, if they're going to update the mercenaries rules to be more like this, because this is the most recent rule set. The mercenaries box set came out before Hotspots Hinterlands, and they have made some changes to the Chaos campaign. I don't know if these supersede these rules or it's just two different options that you can do. Anyways, it is it's very, very, very similar to Mercenaries rulebook, just with a few minor changes. So, moving on, what do we have next? The battle mech. Okay, yeah. So, anything before this is just what 90% of people read. This is already getting into extra rules. That this book is actually basically just the rules from Total Warfare for battle mechs put into one concise volume. I actually really, really like this book. If you're looking for rules for special equipment, how melee stuff works, and so on, this is a quick and easy to read book that has a lot of the information. If you want to play like advanced BattleTech rules, but you're not really interested in aerospace and vehicles and so on, you're really just interested in the mechs, which is like a lot of people. This is as deep as you ever really need to go. This is maybe the last book you might ever really need to have. Everything after this, we're getting into the slightly more insane territory. Yeah. So then we have Total Warfare. This is the whole concise rules for BattleTech, sort of. The non-super advanced rules. And this has all the extra rules for battle mechs and vehicles and aerospace. All that good stuff is contained within Total Warfare. This is a great book to have, actually, too. If you want to get a little deeper into it. Yeah. Very good book. Then now we're getting into the crazies. These are the very complicated books. Campaign operations. So this is like if you know about the program Mega Mech, specifically Mech HQ. If you don't know about it, go check out Mega Mech and the whole suite. It has Mega Mech, Mech Lab, and Mech HQ. Mech HQ is a whole computer program based on this book, not only this book, but largely this book, because it runs a campaign for you. Mech HQ will run a campaign for you. And that computer program that is made to simplify this book is is itself an extremely complicated program that has a pretty steep learning curve. Reading this book, and doing the stuff in this book, I've tried it out. I've read it, and it's a very good book. It's complicated, but it's very, 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 very good. The rules for, like, you want to run a really in-depth campaign and micromanage every transaction and so on, this is the book for you. It also it has rules for solar system generation, which is something that essentially nobody needs, but is one of my favorite parts of any BattleTech book. I made a whole series on just the solar system generation. I made a Excel spreadsheet that will randomly generate a whole solar system, so on. Anyways, you can go find that yourself. I'm not going to link my videos. I'm lazy like that. So yeah, that's campaign operations. Now we get into tech manual. Also, and so if you like building mechs, if you want to create your own custom mechs, well, actually, I would suggest go get Mega Mech Lab if you want to do that. If you want to understand Mega Mech Lab like in depth, um, and how to do it by hand, this is the book for you. It explains how not only battle mechs, but vehicles and small craft, and I think even like naval ships and aerospace fighters. This is an awesome book. One of my favorites. This, along with campaign operations, might be my favorite, like, advanced rule books. So for building battle mechs. But as I said, there is the program Mega Mech Lab if you want to go build battle mechs or whatever without understanding the whole extra nonsense. So moving on. Tactical Operations Advanced Rules. This is all of the rules, BattleTech rules on steroids. Like, BattleTech itself is a complicated game that takes a long time. If you're going to play a game of Classic, it can take hours, many hours, depending on how big your game is. You want to play by these rules, I don't know. It's going to take you weeks, months. This thing is so overly complicated, and there's so much extra stuff to keep track of. They even say in the beginning of the book, choose which of these rules you want to play with. Like, it's doing the entirety of this book, and using all of the rules. You'd have to be a computer person to be able to do that. You'd need a computer for a brain, essentially, to keep track of everything. This is the very, very advanced rules that almost nobody plays with these. Moving on. Tactical. So yeah, there's tactical. There's a couple of these. Tactical Operations Advanced Rules is one book, and Tactical Operation Advanced Units and Equipment. Now this is probably a more used book than the Advanced Rules, because this has all of the cool equipment, and you don't need to use the advanced rules to use the advanced units and equipment. This has, everything, all the weird extra stuff. It just are above the complexity of BattleTech core rules and Total Warfare. Yes, but there are cool stuff in there. There, if you really want to know about all of the weapons and equipment, the really weird stuff, this is the book. It's actually a pretty cool book. I like reading this one a lot too. Moving on, we have Strategic Operation Advanced Aerospace Rules. So Strategic Operations used to have advanced aerospace rules and something called Battle Force rules, so rules for playing like huge campaigns, but that's been split. Okay? The new current Strategic Operations is really just the advanced aerospace rules. I don't even think I own this book. I don't really play with aerospace to begin with, and I definitely don't play with advanced aerospace rules. I think this is one of the fewer used books. Very few people play with the. I don't want to say what do people do. I don't know what people do. I don't know what everybody does, but not so many people play with aerospace, and I've heard a lot of calls that people say aerospace needs to be revised. It needs to be brought down. But there are actually, if Alpha Strike Commander's Edition has like pared down aerospace rules that you could use in a BattleTech Classic game, even if you wanted to. So yeah, there's that. But yeah, this isn't a super popular book. Then we're getting into just like the wackiest. This is Battle Force. So this used to be part of strategic operations, but now it's part of interstellar operations. And there's 2 interstellar operations, and this is the Battle Force. This is running a campaign and battles on a huge scale. So there are rules for, you know, battalion versus battalion battles that don't take 2 years to play, you know. And how basically, if you want to be a house lord and take over the entirety of the inner sphere, this is the book for you. I don't think I own that book. I've never gotten into that. That's way above, the level at which I ever play at. And I'd say these are pretty complicated. I really don't know. Anyways, we're getting to the end here. Interstellar Operations Alternate Eras. And now this has exactly what it says. Rules for playing games in all kinds of different eras from before the Star League. I think from before, Battle Mechs existed. And it has extra stuff for the Dark Age and the Jihad eras. So that's that. And this, again, I don't own this book. I've never read it or played it. I'm sure it's very good. I'm sure it's very complicated. But that's really the end of the BattleTech journey. This is as advanced as you really ever want to get. And that's pretty much all of the core rulebooks for BattleTech. Yeah, that's really all I have to say about it. So I'll end the video here. Hope you enjoyed it. Hope to see you next time. See you later. Bye-bye.